All right, everybody, let's get ready to paint this beautiful, where's he at? This beautiful little Eastern Bluebird over here. Can't wait to get started on this guy. It's going to look fantastic when we're done. I've already quickly sketched this out. If you want to see where's that exact image, you can go to my Discord channel and grab that. It's sitting over there waiting for whoever wants to go and grab it. I'm going to put a little bit of a background on this before we get too far into it. Just going to grab a couple of colors here. Let's make a kind of a muted brownish orange color for this background. Let's mix up some nice color right there. I'm going to do the same thing I've started doing. I'm just going to wet my page here for my background. I'm going to jump right in. Just getting wet right up to this bird, wherever I want that water to flow to. Just going to get it nice and wet like that. On this side of the bird, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of the bird. I'm going to do it over here too. Just like that. Shoot, you know what? Let's even do a little bit on this side of the branch over here too. That'll be nice. Just a little bit over here. There we go. I'm just spreading that water out so that when I put the paint down, it's going to go wherever it wants to go. It's going to find its own way. Just get right on with it. I'm going to go into that orangey color here. I'll put a little bit, actually I want this a little bit grayer than that. There we go. Good, that's good. I want it just a little bit grayer than that because the body of this bird's going to be this nice bright orange. I don't want that to get taken away. Color that we put on here. So I just want to mute this a little bit. But I want to have that orange here because I think it's really going to help. When we put the blue on, it's really going to make that blue pop and come off the page. So that's really going to look nice when we get to that. All right, there we go. Get that little bit of background, and from this point forward, I am not going to touch that background. Kristen, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining me this evening. I've got to kind of find, I need to find where my video is on YouTube. So I can kind of see where I'm painting at. Actually, hang on one second. I think I can go here. Watch this. Oh, there I am. And Natalie is here. Hello, Natalie. Thank you for joining me this evening. There we go. Now I've got everybody where I can see it really nicely. Kristen, Natalie, I don't know if you've been here before with me painting on a Wednesday night. If you have any questions, throw them out there. I love answering questions. If you're a watercolorist and you want my views on a specific thing about watercoloring, please ask. You want to know about my paints, my brushes, my style, how I came about, please feel free to ask. I love talking about what you guys want to hear about. If you don't ask questions, it's just going to be me rambling on for an hour or so, and nobody likes that. Natalie, you've been here before, but it's been a while. Well, it's very nice to have you back. Thank you for coming back. And while I'm waiting for this background area to dry up, I'm going to mix up a little bit of paint And I'm looking at this bluebird. He's got this beautiful color on him. And I want to keep some of that really nice and bright. And I'm gonna do I think a layer here in this cerulean blue. So I'm just gonna mix a puddle of the cerulean blue up, and that's gonna be, I think most of my first layer is gonna be that cerulean blue, and then I'm gonna come back on top of that, maybe with mix in some of this cobalt blue that I've got on my palette. Also, Born Again Farm Girl is here. Hello, welcome back. I know, I'm pretty sure you've been here before. And while I've mixed my blue, I'm gonna just clean a little bit of this area off, so I can mix some of the color from his chest here. And so I've got this beautiful orange. This is azo orange here, and it's a little bright for our purposes. And we could dull it down a little, a couple of different ways, but I think I don't want to gray it down. I just want to temper it a little bit. So I'm just going to mix in a little bit of this burnt umber, and that's going to tone that azo orange down just a little bit. Azo orange can be very bright if you are, yes, you have been here. Fantastic. Like I said, azo orange can be very bright and a little bit overpowering if you are using it straight out of the tube. Okay, so I'm looking here, and this is mostly dry. I think I can get by with painting a lot of this. So I'm gonna try to do this in one shot. Paint the whole bird, save his beak in one shot, and let's see if we can do this. This is gonna be interesting. So I'm gonna get my cerulean blue. I should say this is one of the things I've tried to do, and I will emphasize tried to do, is not paint in so many small blocks as I used to, right? I used to look at this bird and go, oh, here's the head. Let me paint his head, and we'll see how that looks. And then I'll paint his chest, and then I'll paint his stomach, and then I'll paint his wing. And you can do that, and you can paint a very nice painting that way. But sometimes it starts to look a little disjointed. So I've begun to try, at least on my initial wash of paint, to get away from doing that. There's been a bit of a learning curve about where the paints meet. So at this point, I've got a very light line right there. I know that's basically where I want that blue to stop. But I'm going to paint just over that line, and then I'm going to get my color here and put it on, and it shouldn't really run back up because my table's tilted, so it should kind of stay mostly where I put it. If my if my paper wasn't starting to warp a little bit. And I have to remember also that this is my first layer. So if my colors run together just a little bit, I'm totally fine with that. This is a bit strong. Let me just add just a little bit of water to this. I need to watch. I'm prone to do this too. I'm prone to go, oh, I've got to get orange on here. And I'll just put orange on here, and pretty soon I painted the whole bird orange, and the whole bird doesn't get painted orange. But that much of him does, at least for this layer. That's a good start. I'm going to take this, before I do anything else, I'm just going to grab this and pull this out before this gets a hard edge. I'll just leave that right there like that. All right. Now everything down here, down below, down here on his stomach, can get a little bit of color, and it's kind of a bit grayer down there. I think I'll use neutral tint. I don't really want it to be gray. Let's see. Natalie, you got a question. Let me just put a little bit of color on here first, Natalie, and then I'll get to your question. So this is just going to be a little bit of neutral tint, which I started using about a year and a half ago now. If I get a little bit of blue in that, that's okay, right? Mix a little bit of that blue in there. That'll be totally fine. It'll help blend these colors a little bit. It's gonna look nice. And I tend to move my paper around quite a bit. If you haven't been here with me before, it's just easier in many respects to do that. So I don't really apologize for it. I just ask that you that you bear with me. If you're one of the people who doesn't like to see that, I understand that it can be a bit frustrating. But I do it. It just makes some of the strokes a bit easier. Let's see. I discovered Louise DeMasi recently, and she talks a lot about loosening up like this. Yeah, right. You can't get caught up in the details, especially on the first layer, right? It's so easy um, to like the area I'm painting right now, to look at this wing and go, oh, I'm on the wing. I need to paint this wing, and then you paint a feather and another feather, and then you're off to painting a third feather and a fourth feather, and pretty soon you've forgotten that you're painting the wing as it is and not just individual feathers. There's always time later when you come back to add those smaller details. But we've got to start with the bigger picture first. And it really is kind of for me, for many people, I think it's a hard thing to get your head wrapped around, because we look at something and our eye automatically interprets all of the colors and the details and everything that's in there. And the first thing we want to do is start putting in all the different colors and all the different details and whatnot. And we kind of forget that, well, watercolors really are a layering process. We can do all that other stuff too, but there's a time and a place for it, and the first layer really maybe isn't the time and place for that. I'm just going to bring this color all the way down here, and I'm trying to utilize the branch that's there as a natural break. Right, so I painted the top of this bird, everything down to this natural break point. And then I don't have to paint through that, or I don't have to paint over that. Whoops, I'm kind of off the screen a little bit there, aren't I? I can use that as a natural breaking point. I want to have a little puddle there, so I'm just going to pick that up. And then if I wanted to take a break, take a breather, I don't have to feel rushed to get in here and do any additional work until I'm quite ready to do it, which I am. So I'm gonna go in there now. I started watching. At this point in my life, I don't watch very. I shouldn't say this on YouTube. I don't watch that much YouTube anymore. I used to watch quite a bit, and some part of me is honestly a little bit sad that I don't watch as much painting on YouTube anymore. I used to enjoy watching Louise. Of course, she's actually pretty hysterical. If nobody has ever seen her channel before, she is, I believe she's Australian. Natalie, is she Australian? Or is she New Zealand. I think she's Australian. Watercolor artist, and she's got this really light voice, but um, she's fantastic. She's a wonderful artist, and you can learn a lot from watching her paint. So I would watch her. I would watch Tim Wilmot. Yeah, Natalie, you think Australia too? I think she's Australian. I'd watch Tim Wilmot, who I like very much. Liron, I don't know how you say Liron's last name. Yeah, for a long while I was into sketching, so I would watch Teo Yi Chi. Her outtakes, right? Her outtakes are oh my lord. At the end of her videos, she puts in outtakes that obviously didn't make the cut for her normal video, and oh, you just die laughing at some of the stuff she does and says. Um, you find YouTube to be much better entertainment than TV. I don't watch much TV either. Um, it is. It is. There's a lot of it that is much better than TV. I I'm I've gotten into podcasts now, and the reason is, my day during the day is super busy, and I come home, and there's a lot to do at home, and I until about 8 o'clock. I leave the house. I leave my house at 6:30 in the morning, and I'll get back at 5 at night, 5:30, yeah, somewhere in between 5 and 5:30 at night, and then there's animals to take care of, and kids to run around, and normal adult parenting stuff, and housework to do, and so my normal day, I don't stop until, yeah, 8 o'clock or so. About now, I would be powering down to relax on any day other than a Wednesday. Um, and I've just found that I can listen to something and just keep right on going with it, and I don't have to stop. And so I do a lot more podcasting nowadays than I ever did before. Uh, but let's see. But we were talking about, we were talking about the people I used to watch on YouTube. Not sure what I was. I'm not sure what I was saying about them. But I do know Louise is hysterically funny. Please, anybody, if you're interested in wonderful watercolors and, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes. Her videos normally are only 30, 40 minutes long. They're not that long, of a wonderful direction on how to paint something. And then I don't think every video at the end she has outtakes, but oh, the ones she does there, they are hysterical. But the guy I really got into for a long time, for a couple of years, was Tim Wilmot. If you haven't seen Tim, Tim's a little dry. He's sometimes a little hard to watch, um, because he doesn't have a whole lot of inflection. He doesn't spend a whole lot of time on fluff or jokes or anything like that. He gets right to the point and he tells you what it is, and he's got a super super unique style. So I should say what I'm doing now. This is really this color, this branch. This is cobalt green with a little bit of sepia mixed with it. And while it's still wet, I'm just going to mix up a little stronger bit, a little bit more of the sepia in this. and along one edge, and every so often, while it's still wet, I'm just going to drop a little paint in there, and I'm going to let the water take that paint wherever it wants to go. And in so doing, it's going to give this branch a whole lot of life. I used to spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to paint branches and twigs and stuff like that, and everything came out okay. But this is so easy to do. And if you get some hard edges, you get some hard edges. If you get all soft edges, you get all soft edges. It doesn't matter. Whoever the viewer is, their eye is just it's gonna see it, and it's gonna go, that's a branch. I get it. That's a branch. And we might not have to do anything else with this. I think we're gonna have to do a little bit up here to make this little twig that branches off the side a little more noticeable, but that's probably about it. We might be done with that altogether. And it's so nice to know that you can do something so simply and make it pop and real nice in one step and not two or three. Have I talked enough about other people's YouTube channels? Like I said, those guys, there are some really good artists out there on YouTube and do some really amazing work. And I don't want to take away from any of them, but they're amazing. Okay, so I'm taking my blue that I've got here. Looks like I moved that a little bit. This was a puddle of cerulean blue, and I'm going to mix in some of this cobalt blue. I want these wings to be nice and bright, nice and bright blue, right? This is a bluebird. This is the whole point of having some nice, bright colors here. And I'm gonna just find a couple of these feathers and trace them down, kind of outline them a little bit like this. And this is going to be my first layer of this blue. Well, I guess it's my second layer of blue in total. And I just touched that branch, and I didn't really want to do that. I think if I leave this this way on my tabletop, I think I'll be okay. I want to take this and spread this out here. And what I'm hoping to do with this, there is a little method to my madness, is build up some of these feathers in here. Just build up a couple of layers of these feathers. And you'll see how this happens here. As I get on to the next layer, I'll just do that like that. Okay, so there's kind of one layer of feathers that come down through here. And I'm gonna actually do this. I'm gonna try to make his head a bit rounder, or look a bit rounder. And the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna put right on the top edge here a fairly dark line. I'm looking down here to see where I can put my elbow, my wrist, so I don't put it in any wet paint. I'm always, because I move my page a lot, I'm always looking for that. And usually I find a nice place to put my elbow, my wrist. All right, I'm going to do this. Right, it looks like he's got some darker areas back here, and this looks a little funny. I'm sure it looks a little funny, but on my next step here, it's going to look a little better. Wet brush, damp brush, not wet, damp brush. And I'm blending that edge in. Just grabbing it and letting it blend in. And then it's going to give me a nice soft edge here. And hopefully, let's see, if I think I need to change that anywhere, if I look at this and think I need to change this anywhere, I can just go ahead and do that right now while I'm still a little wet. I'm going to put Bit of color right around his eye, right here. Maybe I should have had there before. Like that. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to drop a little bit of gray right under here. And then I'm going to blend this out just a bit. What we should end up with is a nice area up here on his head. I'm continually drying my brush, taking a little bit of paint off and keeping it a little bit dry. Oh, there was a little bead of water right there. I hope you guys can see it. Maybe I need to. There was a little bead of water that just I must have splashed, and it took some of my paint away. I'm just attempting to put a little bit back there, but by doing this, I should be able to make kind of a highlight right up here, and everything else have color in it, and it look as though the light is shining right down this way, right onto the top of his head. And the rest of his head's got this beautiful darker color in it. Yeah, it looks to me. Okay, good. Actually, you know what I want to do? I want to lighten this up a little bit, just right around here. I'm going to drop in just a bit of yellow ochre in here, right around his beak. Now his beak is going to be pretty dark. I think that's going to help lighten that area up. And I don't even know if you guys can see that. I can hold it up and you can take a quick look at it. Right, just lighten that color up a little bit in there. And now we're starting to get some nice colors in here. Right, some really beautiful colors in through here. I'm looking at his head. Maybe I didn't even go dark enough right here. I think I'm going to have to let this dry and put another layer on just back here on his head and just under his eye and back to the back of his head back here. All right, and I'm going to do kind of the same thing up here on his wing. I think I can touch that if I need to. And I'm looking at it, and it's got a little bit of gray to it, so I'm going to do it maybe not quite as strong. This is a mix of just cobalt and cerulean blue right along that top edge of his wing there. That's all we need. We can pull the rest of that paint right down towards us. It's going to be fine. Pull that down, and as I come down, I'm just going to mix in a little bit of gray or a little bit of this brown as we come down to meet the other blue that we painted on there. Should give us just the indication of where his feathers are. And it should lighten it. It's going to lighten it as we get to the bottom, all the way down here. Come on, paint. There we go. And then you'll be able to see that wing as it comes down there. And then once we straighten it up, we can doctor that paint. As long as it's wet like this, we can doctor this any way we need to do it. I think we need just a little bit more blue. I want to highlight the top of his wing here a little bit more. So I'm going to put a little bit more blue right up here. And then I'm going to clean my brush and just pull it down. Pull that color down. Now, I'm not trying to make this look exactly like the reference photo. I have the shape generally the same as the reference photo, but I'm not trying to make this bird look exactly the same as that reference photo. I've talked about that before. I'm willing to do a lifelike-ish painting, but I don't do replicas of, right? I don't try to duplicate this bird because I've already got a picture of this bird. If I wanted to have just that normal picture of this bird the way it is, I could do a G clay or something of it, and it would all be fine and well and good, and nobody would be the wiser that it wasn't exactly what I wanted or anything like that. So I don't try to do big hair right there. I don't try to do an exact copy. I try to do my version of it and hope that it looks interesting enough when it's done. Now I'm gonna come down here and I'm gonna strengthen the bottom of this. This is gonna help this bird stand out away from the background and away from that branch a little bit. I'm gonna put some of that color on, not much at all, and then I'm gonna blend this way up. Actually pull this paint pretty far up here if I need to. One of the things I really like to do is blend paints. So oftentimes if I don't have anything to do on a weekend or something like that and I come out to the studio, I don't have a specific painting that I'm working on, I'll sit here and paint to see how far I can pull a graded wash out. Can I get it to come out 2 inches? Can I get it to come out 3 inches? Can I pull that out even further? What if I add more water to it? What if I add less water to it? Well, not if I add less water to it. What if I add more paint to it? How's it going to look? And is it gonna do something that I'm not expecting? Well, sometimes it does, and sometimes those are the best paintings that you get too. So there we go. Now it looks like now there's even more. Look, there's like he's got more to him down here. If we have some on that side of that branch, we've got to put some on this side of the branch. So let's give him a little bit over here too. Right? If I get a little bit of that yellow ochre in there, that's good. Right on down. How's he look? How's he looking? It is important as you're doing this to kind of step back, lean back every now and again and take a look. Does it look like what I want it to look like? Does it not look like what I want it to look like? No, I think he's going to end up looking really nice. There we go. So now this little, his stomach down here looks like it carries right on through that branch. So it looks like it's one continuous body going through that, and that's what we want. All right, I'm gonna take a little bit of this paint. Actually, I'm gonna drop down one brush size. This is a bigger brush. I don't know. This is a size 12. I'm gonna drop down. This is probably a size 8. This is a size 8. A little bit of this Payne's gray. I don't know why I mix my Payne's gray right on my thumb hole here, but I've kind of gotten into that habit. I'm gonna get a little bit of that. I'm gonna put it just on the inside of his tail here, and I'm gonna blend this out. Looks like we're picking up a couple of people and losing a couple of people on our broadcast here. If anybody's new and they're coming in and you've got a question about something, please feel free to ask, introduce yourself, say hi, say where you're from. I'm pretty friendly. I like to talk to people. Part of why I do this is, well, one, because it's nice to talk to people, for sure. It is. Anytime you can make a couple of extra friends and have some fun painting, it's a good time. But I do it because it's I want to help people who are starting to learn how to paint. Give them a hand up. What paper am I using tonight? That is a great question. So, right when the pandemic hit, I had 3 or 4 giant pads of paper, 2 feet by a foot and a half, 18 by 24, maybe 24 by 36 inches, some giant pads of paper. And I took them into my work and I cut them down into these sizes, which is roughly 9 by 12, so that I could get a size piece of paper that I could do a video on in about an hour. Well, in doing that, I kind of lost track of which paper is which. From the feel of this, I want to say that this is Canson Montval paper. That's kind of what it feels like to me. It's pretty soft. It's 140-pound paper. I do know that. It's wood pulp paper. But I had a couple of big packs of Canson Montval paper, and I had some big ones of, I'm looking at one down there right now, of Strathmore 500 series water paper and Strathmore windmill water paper. And it doesn't feel like a Strathmore paper, so I think it's a Canson Montval paper. It's an okay paper. It's not, paper's never going to win any awards, but for what we're doing here tonight, it certainly will suffice. There's nothing wrong with it. It's much better, in my opinion, than the Canson XL paper, which I really don't like. If somebody out there uses that, I will be happy to tell you why I don't like that paper. But the water spreads nicely for a wood pulp paper. The water spreads okay. My problem with wood pulp paper is not getting the water to spread. It's getting the water to stop. That's always my problem with the wood pulp paper. I always get the feeling that I can get the water to spread, but with cotton paper, right? My Arches paper, I have Arches over there. I love Arches paper. I can get the paper or the water on the paper, the paint on the paper, to go to a certain spot and stop, and it won't continue to drift. If I do a graded wash on the Arches paper, it will stay a graded wash. Lots of times on this paper, if I do a graded wash, it just becomes a flat wash because it just continues to spread and spread and spread and spread. And sometimes it's really hard to get it to stop. So you do need some hard edges like this one in the wing right there, or that would have spread wherever. Natalie, let's see, here in Arizona, I really struggle with keeping my washes wet enough. Yeah, so I have the same problems here in the summer, right? You're super dry there. We're super dry here on the coast of California. You know, our humidity in the summer is more than yours is. I don't want to get into a competition on who has the least, because you guys win hands down. But it's dry here, to say the least, and it's tough. It's tough. I've noticed if I'm painting throughout the summer here, and I should say we have quite a few foggy days. I'm right on the ocean, right? I can turn around and hit a golf ball and almost make it to the ocean from my house. I'm super lucky to live where I do. I love it here, but it is pretty close. But even, you know, having said that, it's it gets super dry, but we will get from time to time. It used to happen more often. Super foggy days, and like so foggy that it doesn't burn off. Well, I've noticed on those summer days when it gets super foggy like that, I can't paint because I've gotten used to putting more water, like you say, more water on your paper to keep it damp. But on those days, boy, you can't do it because you put more water on and the water never dries up. It stays there forever. It's a struggle. It's something that you really do have to work at. And I definitely notice it throughout the seasons that my painting changes, and yours probably does too. I would imagine yours changes too as the seasons change. It's a struggle. That's one of the things that's kind of really frustrating, but really kind of cool about watercolors is that you can paint the same thing twice. You can take all the same steps twice, and you're never going to get the same painting twice in a row. It just isn't. It just isn't going to happen, and I think that's pretty cool. I think it's really frustrating. I will admit, there's a lot of frustration in that too. Um, but it's really a cool thing. So this is one thing I do is I get my brush nearly dry when I'm blending an edge in here. I want, you know, this bird in particular doesn't have feathers that come to an abrupt stop, right? These red, orange feathers, they don't just come to an area except for underneath the wing here and then just stop, right? They blend in really nicely with the white or the gray feathers of his chest under here. And so I want to make sure, and the same thing up here on his head too. I want to make sure I have this nice, really easy blended edge to get these colors to go into one another. You know what? He's got some more that come down here. Let's give him a few that come down the front of his chest here too. So to do that, what I do is I put the color on almost in the area that I want it in. This is a tip I kind of wish I had known earlier in my career. And then I don't put my brush actually back in the color that I'm painting. I keep it dry. I'm constantly going back onto a paper towel to dry it off. All you need is just barely damp, and you start outside the color and you push back into it. And you can really control where that color goes by doing that. It's just, watercolors are hard to control by their nature, but that gives us just an extra little bit of control. And if you look at him now, I got that red in there, that orange, that what is it? It's a lot of azo orange and some burnt umber in there. Now he looks like he's really coming to life, right? Oh, Bicycle Repairman is here. Welcome. Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you again. I've got my cobalt blue here. I'm going to drop into this because I've done this before and this really makes for a dramatic color. I'm going to drop in a little bit of Payne's Gray. It doesn't look like it makes much of a difference if you do that, but when you start to put color on a place, that little bit of Payne's Gray really does make a difference. So I'm going to do that, and I said I was going to go and darken up this area on the back of his head back here. So I'm just going to go and do that. And I'm not purposely making it a lot darker. It's only a little bit darker, but having that another layer on there is going to really help to darken this up a little bit. Bicycle Repairman, how you doing today? Thanks for making it. I appreciate you stopping by. Here we go. We're getting there. We're getting there with this guy. And I think when I put his eye in here, his eye's going to make a huge difference on here. Oh yeah, look, his head is really starting to take shape now. You can really start to see the contour of his head there, right? You can really start to see that. I can actually probably pull that down a little bit more. I don't want to pull this down too much into that orange that we've previously put on there, but he's really starting to look good. Now it looks like there's really some shape to his head there. It's looking so good. So I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to take a little bit more of this Payne's gray and a little bit of just cobalt blue in here, and I'm going to come up onto his wing here, and I'm going to, in essence, do a little bit of outlining. Good. How about me? I'm I'm tired, but I'm doing good. I'm tired. It's a good tired. It's not a bad tired. I will say that. It's a good tired, not a bad tired. I don't know if I told you guys, I got a new position at work, and it's keeping me busy for sure. It's really keeping me busy. Learning a whole new skill set, interacting with a different set of people, just doing some new things. And as you know, as we all know, when you start doing new things, you get tired a lot more quickly than normal. But like I said, it's a good tired. I have enjoyed every day at work that I've gone to work for the past, oh, I don't know, 3 months, 4 months. Completely, totally enjoyed it. It's a new challenge. It's a new page in my work, but it's totally good. Got a new boss who's fantastic. He seems to like the work I do, which is even better. It's even better. He and I get along. Seeming, you know, we've only worked together a short amount of time, but congrats, thank you, thank you. It's so nice to work with good people and know you're doing a good job and whatnot. All right, I got some marks on here. I'm going to put a few marks up here too. I do this as a way to define the shape of this bird's body as much as anything else. Right, just a few lines here and there. Right, which way are his feathers going here? Which way are they going there? How do they stick out? If we want to make a couple of marks for, I don't know, maybe he's got a specific pattern on there that we recognized as we started to paint this, and we want to put those on here. This is a good way to do it. We just need a few dots here and there. This is one thing that I got from Tim Wilmot. I talked about him earlier, that he does. He doesn't worry about trying to get things exactly right or specifically in the right spot. One of the things he says is, you know, just put it on there. Who is ever watching it, their eye is going to define it for themselves. Okay, I'm just looking up here, and this is a little wet. I don't want to go back up there, so I'm going to come down here, and this is just a little bit of black. Could have put a little bit of green in there. Looks like he's got a little reflected color, but not much. You could put some blue in here too. And I'm going to start to define his feet. Right, just like this. There's a toe right there. You can paint bird feet, fingers, toes, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, in an interesting way. You can almost paint them with straight lines on one side, right? The top of this guy's feet really are kind of a straight line. And then the bottom of the feet, all you have to do is match the curve of the stick and that they're on. And really, you're painting a darker color over a lighter color, or we should be painting a darker color over a lighter color. So whatever way we think that that stick ought to go, if there's a flat spot in there, well, you could paint his toe or his finger or whatever you want to call that straight going around that branch, or you could paint it curved going around the branch. But bird's feet or bird's toes really are kind of a weird thing to paint. All right, there's that. Don't really have to do much more than that. We're going to come back and that's the color they're going to be. I can turn it so you don't get a lot of glare on it. And that's fine. That's it. That's all we've got for them. We're going to come back and put on a kind of a second layer. Oops, actually, I just looked. His whole leg comes up here. There it is. I don't want to forget his leg. It's almost like sitting on that branch there. There he goes. There's his leg. Just kind of sitting there. And so we're going to leave it, and then we'll come back and we'll just put on like some lines for a knuckle here and there, and that'll be about it. And you'll see it all of a sudden, without doing a whole lot, it's going to put on quite a bit of interest there for us. So I'm going to do the bottom half of his beak, and then I'm going to let it dry a little bit because I want that hard line to get in there between the top and the bottom. I'm going to put his eye in here, and I'm going to paint it just solid. I'm not trying to leave white for a highlight. I've got a gel pen, a white gel pen that I use for that. It's just as easy. I think it turns out being just as good. If you look at a painting and stand back 3 feet, you won't know if it's a white gel pen or if it's space. Okay. And now I'm going to drop down. I've got a rigger brush here. While I'm waiting for that stuff to dry, I've got a rigger brush. I'm going to go back into my cobalt blue, Payne's gray, and I'm going to give a couple of extra lines here. Right? I'm going to give a little line around his eye. I just want to set it off a little bit. Maybe the indication of a feather or two out here. Something like that. 1 or 2 here. Around his beak. And then I want to come in, and right in here where we've got our feathers, I want to extend this line a little bit. Maybe even give an indication of another line in there. Right, these feathers a little broken up in there. I want to make sure we get those in there. And then down here we've got a few other lines. Oops, my bristle's broken up there. There we go. A few other lines, but don't need to make it too busy in here, but maybe a little dark area. If I paint that area in a little bit darker, it's going to look like there's another layer of feathers on here. Like he's got 3 kind of layers of feathers, right? Here's his body. Here's one layer just above that. Comes all the way up here, and then there's that top layer up there. Let's give a couple of marks up here too, right? And I do like if you just go to the edge and you just pull a little feather out here and there, just a little mark. I don't know, it makes it adds a couple of imperfections like here and there. Always seems a bit more real when he's got just, I don't know, it's not quite as round as it should be. It's a little, right, some of these imperfections need to be there, right? He's got some feathers. So if you can see that, right, there's a couple of feathers that come out on the top. There's a couple that come out here on the bottom. That's all we're talking about. We just need a little bit here and a little bit there. And I'm gonna see if I can just add a little bit more dark in here. Could probably do this with a neutral tint, but I'm gonna keep with kind of our color profile here. Just go with a little bit more of that brown, and that should, I don't know, should set that wing off just a little bit more as I'm looking at it. It's always interesting to me, I always say we need to, I don't always say, but I always think, anyways, I sometimes say we need to step back a little bit and look at our painting, right? Lean back and look at it. Is it how we want it? Is it not how we want it? Do we need something different in there? What's going on? Also, I look at the monitor up there to see how it looks a lot of times. And sometimes it looks drastically different on the monitor than it does on the paper. But anyways, I think this guy's looking pretty good. He's pretty cute. He's pretty cute. I gotta go back into my black here. Now this is where we're closing in on the end of this one. I've mixed the same black as I had before, and I'm just putting a couple of lines in here. Right, and all of a sudden it's gonna divide up where his, as you can see, right, a couple of little lines in there, not a whole lot, just enough to set apart what are his knuckles, what are his different toes, just to break that black up, that extra little hit of black in there. Really kind of sets that off to help. I got a loose hair on this one. Really helps to set it off. And then we got some of his claws in there. Paint his beak, and I'm going to put a little bit of this orange on the top of his beak here. I know it's not really there. I just think it's going to add a little bit more interest. There it is. There it is. I think he's adorable. Watch this. I'm going to get my white gel pen out. And give a couple of little highlights on there. Like that. You can see right on his eye. Actually, I'm going to give another low light on his beak here before I move on. Another low light. Get in that pile of black. He must have a nose in here. There it is. Make this bottom half a bit darker, just to set it off as the bottom half. There it is. Well, there he is. So I think he turned out pretty adorable. I hope you guys liked him. I'm going to sign him right here. I think, right? Yeah, right here. I don't know. And with that signature, I'm going to call this guy, whoops, let me get him in the center. I'm going to call this guy done. I hope you guys had a good time watching me this evening. I had a great time painting with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll be back here again next week. I was going to put out an announcement earlier today, but I kind of had a headache. I wasn't exactly sure that I was going to do it. But as I got close to 7 o'clock, actually, hang on, we're not quite done yet. One thing to do, we need to make sure that we can tell where this branch starts and stops. So there's maybe, this is a little tiny thing. There we go. It's a little tiny thing. We didn't need to do it, but a little bit of color right there, and now we can see that branch comes out in the middle there. Okay, that's it. Next week, I'm hoping to feel looks great. Thank you for joining me. Next year, I'm going to be Oh my Lord, it's getting late. I'm getting punchy. Next week, I'm going to be back here with another bird. I think I've got 2 more birds that I'm going to do, and then I'm going to move on to a different topic. So if you enjoy birds and you want to talk art or painting, come back here next week, next Wednesday, 8 o'clock Pacific. This weekend, I will be painting on Twitch, at least on Saturday. I've been challenged to paint my own Zoom background, so I'm going to paint a nice large painting, 18 by 24, a nice big sheet of paper, and it's going to be a UFO that I'm going to put for my Zoom background. My coworkers challenged me to do that, so I'm taking up that challenge. If you want to see that, that should be fun. It's going to be a multi-parter, I'm sure. And that's all I've got for you. Thank you so much for stopping by this evening. If you want the reference photo, it's on Discord. Down below, links to everything else. I don't know, what is Etsy site down below, my website, Twitter, Instagram, Discord down there. If you want to buy me a cup of coffee, help pay for some of the art supplies in the studio here, you can buy me a cup of coffee down there, or you can just go right to my PayPal account and donate some money there. That's what I got for you all. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.